What's up, y'all? One of my recent videos, I took the JK to the Badlands off-road park, and somehow I lost a fender. Flexing too much. I heard a noise, I didn't stop to check, and it was my fender ripping off. So, Hooke Road has been wanting to work with my channel for a while now, and I never had anything I needed, but now I do. We had them send us out some tube fenders, and we're going to be putting them on the JK today. There they are. I've just briefly opened the box to look at them. I'm not a big unboxing guy, so I'll just dig them out and let you guys take a look at them. Okay, so this is the style I went with. I'll put the part number on the screen to this. I thought this was the best looking one. They have several choices. This one just kind of has a tube flare style. It's got that same kind of textured-ish, if you want to call it, powder coat that comes on most of these, you know, Amazon type brand of products. I know from history this stuff doesn't have the best track record of holding up, but we'll give it a try and we'll see how it does. If I start seeing any peeling or rusting or anything like that, I will probably pull these back off and bed liner them. So anyway, I guess the first step, we got to get those fenders off of that thing, the ones that are left anyway. You know, probably the funnest part of this whole thing, just ripping the old ones off. Got some panel poppers you got to pull first, but then the rest just pow. The clips will either break or they'll stay in. You just got to pop them out of there. Looks like we got some rust to deal with in there. You guys know the history of this Jeep. You know it was kind of a rust bucket. It sat abandoned for 4 years and someone's driveway had salt on it. And a lot of the stuff under here is just crusty, but I just took the wire wheel, knocked all the loose rust off, and I hit it with rust converter. And now I'm letting that dry. I'm gonna spray some paint over it. But in the meantime, one of the things you gotta do to install these fenders is get rid of all these stupid clips, and you just kind of have to break them out of here. They will go flying, so watch your face. Watch out! If you don't have a panel popper tool, this is gonna be a lot harder for you. You can get them for like $5 on Amazon. Ooh, that one's a little crunchy. So it looks like the new fenders have some riv nuts, so hopefully if one goes there, it'll bite into that. And one there. Sometimes you get lucky and they stay with the fender. All right, 1, 2, 3 of them, kind of half of them stayed with the fender anyway. So to get the fronts off, it's pretty similar. The inner's connected to the outer with these rivets. You don't have to mess with that. You've got to, I think there's 5 10 mil bolts. You got 1, 2, 3, one up in that hole, and then this one connects to a stud. And then you've got some panel popper or Christmas trees, like I like to call them, in various places. And once you get all that stuff, you just grab on and give them a good yank. You're gonna want to disconnect your light first. Yeah, you just twist it and the whole twist and pull, the whole bolt comes out. You just want to be careful because I think the wiring is also clipped to this, so when you rip it out, you know, maybe start back here and then, or you know, get up inside of there and see what you got to do to unhook it. I can't believe that I broke 2 bolts and 2 of them are just spinning in place, so I really hope I don't need those attachment points for these new fenders. So we're gonna have to get creative. Like I said, the clips will just break. Got this one rivet that has got me hung up on this plastic inner structure thing. Since we're throwing all this stuff away, I don't care. These 2 are just spinning. Oh, I guess I missed one there too, but golly, look at how bad that is. That's never gonna come out. I mean, look at some of the damage of this thing. Surprisingly, the frame's pretty solid on this thing. I couldn't find any weak spots. I don't know how the body stuff got so crusty and the frame didn't. Goodness sakes. That one broke, and now this thing's free. So clearly those ones, okay, you can see they just spun in their clips or whatever. Who cares? Oh my goodness. This is gonna be not very fun. All right, I've got all 4 of the fenders off, and I've taken the wire wheel to the rust, and I have used some rust converter stuff on all of them. I'm gonna start working on the first fender, and when I get that done, I'll put paint over there. So the front install looks pretty easy. They give you 5 bolts and nuts for these holes. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You probably skipped that one. There's room to get behind to get nuts on all of those. They also give you some for this bottom one and this one, but it says if you're going to be installing their fender liners, you have to put a riv nut here and here because you won't be able to access to get the nut on there. I'm not using their fenders, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just riv nut these two. And in fact, I have my own riv nut kit. I might just riv nut all of these, especially if I have the same size that will fit the bolts they already gave me. So I'm gonna go look at that right now. And I even have the riv nut gun to make that easier, but I will show you how to use the little jack bolt they give you. You'll have to pardon my mess here, but they bagged the front and the rear hardware separately. So here's those two riv nuts they give you for the front on each side and all the black hardware. This is for the rear. The rear shows there's 7 holes and you riv nut all 7 of them. Unless you're using their inner liners, it says you don't have to do those 2 in the top. I'm just gonna do all 7. So I'm gonna see if my riv nut kit has the same size as what they're using here, and I'm just gonna riv nut everything. So this is the jack bolt, is what most people call this, or it's just a bolt with a spacer and some washers, and then that's a riv nut screwed on top of it, and you basically just shove that in the hole. You hold this big hex spacer with a wrench while you turn the bolt head with a wrench, and as you turn that, it threads it into here and it starts pulling the riv nut back, and it just squeezes it like a rivet would. And then once you get it all the way done, you just back it out and take all this stuff off, and then you can just keep using this bolt to install them. I have a tool that makes it way easier. So this is my riv nut tool. It comes with these various sizes of riv nuts, metric and standard, and then I also have this kit with some extras. These are M8, and I do have 20 in this kit. There's more in that kit, so I am just going to go ahead and use nothing but riv nuts. So you do have to drill these holes out. It says to use a 9mm, but honestly, who has metric drill bits? The first one that I got this to fit in is 15/32. It barely goes in, but honestly, that's what you want with these. Take a 12 and a 14 and you just hold that still and turn that in. So this stupid camera doesn't want to stand up today, so I'm just gonna lay you down. You want to hold the pressure in on it so it doesn't try to come back out at you. It's gonna be hard at first. It's gonna want to spin this one, so you're gonna have to hold it really tight. Oh my god, really tight. Honestly, I don't know what's going on here. 12 is slipping, 11 won't fit. Standard wrenches won't fit, so crescent wrench it is. I am just gonna go get my tool. This is ridiculous. Just completely destroyed this thing, so we're just gonna use my tool. All right, so Hooke Road, if you're listening, don't use a stainless bolt for this, because stainless bolts like to gall. So I tried to tighten this, the threads galled, and then it got stuck, and then when I tried to reverse it out, it got stuck in the threads and actually squeezed the rivet. So now this whole thing's useless, and I can imagine that someone that doesn't have the tool for this is going to be really freaking irritated by that. Luckily, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage and use the tool. If you can spend like $400 in these fenders, you can spend another 40 and get one of these tools. I promise you'll thank yourself. Watch how much easier this is to deal with. Put it in there. You squeeze. Thread it in some more, squeeze some more, and then just... There you have it. See if this will focus on the back side. Yeah, you can kind of see how it's squished down. It ain't going nowhere. 27 more to do. I know it's windy and it's harvest season, so that grain tower right there is making a bunch of noise, but we're just gonna make do, all right? So we're ready to throw this on there, and it's pretty simple. Each bolt just gets a lock washer and then a regular washer. We're gonna hold this up there, and we're gonna get all the bolts started loosely before we tighten anything, because we're gonna kind of hold the fender exactly where we want it before we tighten these. That's kind of the golden rule for anything, really, you know. Start all the bolts, get it adjusted, then tighten it. Just realized I messed up. This doesn't go here, it goes there. So it ain't gonna hurt nothing, but whatever. maybe we won't riv nut all of them because I can't move this at all, and it's sitting a bit lower than I would like. I want to raise it up, but it doesn't want to come up because the riv nuts just lock it into place, kind of. Especially this one. This one, like, I had to force it in.
So I decided on the passenger side to just use the bolts and nuts, thinking that maybe I would have a little bit more adjustment in the fender so I could raise it up, but that was not the case. It ended up being exactly like the first side, where once the bolts were in, I just could not move it at all. Even though the holes are slotted, they're just not all slotted in the right direction to allow movement.
Not the easiest thing to start. I kind of had to hold this like that and just stick my fingers up in there and try to blindly catch it, because you can't really get your whole hand up in there. I'm thinking if you need to adjust this fender, if you want a little more adjustment, maybe it would be best to drill these holes out a little bit, because I've only got like 3 started and it already is basically locked in place and it won't move. It looks like it's too far down, like I want it to come up, and it won't. Not gonna lie, I was hoping the fitment was up a little closer to here, but it just will not adjust. Even though these holes are somewhat slotted and there's room to go up on them, they just won't go up. This one was a stretch to fit. These two are kind of slotted sideways, so but they're over at the bottom of the slot where that one is. So I feel like the only way to really get a lot of adjustment is to drill all these holes out, skip using the riv nuts because those kind of lock it in place, make the holes bigger, and then, you know, it'll float around a little bit. But for now, I think it's going to be good enough. We're just going to tighten it down and move on. So I can only get the ratchet wrench on 2 of these, because since the fender won't move up, the bolt heads are so close to the top. At least on this one, I was able to get a socket on there. And because the nuts on the backside are serrated, they're kind of holding themselves. I haven't had to put a wrench on any of them yet. Oh, there it is. It's solid. I wish it was closer so I didn't have so much of this reveal here, because the paint's kind of crappy down there, but it just won't move up. And there's some little minor things that are iffy, like you got some fitment like that where there's a gap, but like I can take a deadbolt hammer and thump that'll bend in. But I mean, it hugs the body pretty well. It honestly matches the same coating I've got on these. Alright, so on this back one, we've got the 2 bottom holes, the 2 center holes on the top, and then these 3 right here. So that one's not used, that one's not used, and those 2 are not used. Now, the problem for me, I kind of rebuilt these corners because they were rusted away. But part of what I rebuilt was right here, and I'm missing that bottom hole, so I'm gonna have to just get all the other ones lined up and then drill that one to do that one, because that is all like 1/8" plate right there instead of the normal sheet metal. Fitment is kind of not great on these things. Looks like I'm gonna have to grind this hole out and this hole out. So close to the top that I gotta sit here and tighten it with the opening wrench because socket won't go on it. And then these holes didn't line up so good, so I took a die grinder, opened them up a bit, but I had already tried to kind of force the bolt in and screwed up that riv nut and that riv nut. So we're going short 2 bolts, and I just don't care. So Hooke Road, if you're listening, maybe tighten up a little bit on your hole location, save some frustration. I definitely like how these rear fenders look. I will say they're not the best fit for the rear bumper that I have, just because it sticks out here and like the stock flare matches up with it perfect. So it just kind of, this is like all unnecessary now. I almost wish I could just like lop it off shorter, but pretty solid. All right, that's the last one. Got them all on. I think it looks pretty good. Fitment was a little bit of an issue. This one actually went quite well. I did go ahead and enlarge these 3 holes a little bit since I fought with them on the other side so bad. The only thing that I really got left to do, they give you no place to put your old light, and there's this little circle here. We could find one of those like little LED lights, and I live right near a truck stop that has all kinds of lights like that, so I might go up there and see what they got, and maybe just cut this plug off and direct wire it into like a little LED marker light for right there. Other than that, we're good to go. Hooke Road also has a bunch of inner fender liners. They only wanted to send me one thing at a time, so what I did is I just went on Amazon and I found these one-piece bare aluminum inner fender liners. A lot of the aluminum ones you see are like multiple pieces that you have to bolt 3 or 4 pieces together to make one liner, and this is just all one thing. It was $124 for the whole set of 4. I don't know how well they're gonna fit or how good they're gonna look, and I also haven't decided if I'm leaving them uncoated aluminum like this or if I'm painting them, and I also don't know if it's easier to install these first or after those are on. So we're just going to be doing some experimenting here, and hopefully these work out. For those of you that wanted to see the inner fenders, that's what they look like. These were easy and also hard to install because remember all the spots that were rusted out? That's most of the places that this wants to bolt to. So I really don't have that much holding it on right now, but it's on there. Same back here, like that hole. Oh, I don't know if you can see it, but that hole has nothing to bolt to. And that's kind of what it looks like. I don't know. I kind of like it. It gives it a little bit different of a look.